My name is Zach Lowy. Um, I am a freelance journalist based in Maryland. And with regards to Outlet, I don't think I can say that I'm the co creator and chief editor of Breaking the Lines, BTLVID on Twitter. We've got some big things brewing for this World Cup. So, definitely drop us a follow and stay tuned. And yeah, you can also find me on a few other outlets such as 442. Thought Mob, Soccer America, Urban Pitch. Hopefully, a few more coming this World Cup.
Dope. So I see you got the Portugal shirt on. How do you think this World Cup's being anticipated by the Portuguese fans that you're in contact with?
So, with regards to the anticipation from Portuguese fans, obviously, I can't speak for the Portuguese people because I live in the USA. What I will say though is, you know, the sensation that I do get interacting with a lot of people online is that expectations are fairly high with regards to this Portuguese side, okay? I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that in, all of the various World Cups that Portugal have competed in, this is the best team that they've ever had. I mean, obviously, you know, the furthest that they've gone in a World Cup is the semifinal, right? They've only been there once, and I definitely think that's got to be the target. I mean, that's not me saying that Portugal are necessarily a top four team in the world, right? I think they're around the borderline, but I just feel like there have been so many disappointing finishes for a team that has been really trending upwards. And yeah, for over the course of the first quarter of the 21st century, has gone from a complete minnow to one of the biggest powerhouses in the game. So, like for me, when I'm talking about the favorites to win this thing, I think you got to throw in Spain. You've got to throw in France, England. Obviously, you got to put Argentina coming off three straight trophies. Those would be my top four. But with that being said, I just feel like Portugal, if they're playing well, they're not only are they in that second scale alongside the likes of Germany, maybe Brazil, Morocco, teams like that, but I would say they're as good. They can match the level as those elite nations that I mentioned. So, yeah, like I said, this is obviously going to be the last World Cup. One can hope of Cristiano and a few other big name stars. So you do kind of sense that urgency that it's now or never for this Portuguese team, right? And after that, after that quarterfinal elimination in Qatar, which of course let's not forget was their first trip to the quarterfinals since what 2006, 2010, in a good amount of years, right? Um, with that being said, like I think that this team has the potential to go really far and push for the trophy.
Cool. So I've been asking people to kind of play TV doctor for me. And when we're discussing the country that we're discussing, I'm like, what is the overall health of the particular country that we're talking about? So in this case, what's your assessment of Portuguese football? And I mean that both in a domestic sense and the ability to export or even import players in a Portuguese sense. Is it in a healthy place or a good place, would you say?
I would say it's in a fairly healthy place. Obviously Portugal. It's interesting because, like I said, Portugal are at worst a top seven, top eight country in world football. Um, but with regards to the financial health of their league, yeah, it's definitely gone down in the past few decades, and the outlawing of third party ownership has also played a huge role in making sure that Portuguese teams are not always going to get players like Hulk or Falcao like they would back in the day. So they definitely had to change it up a little bit. Maybe rely on their academy, rely on different markets. Um, Because yeah, I mean, if you compare the financial health of Liga Portugal, it's below MLS, Liga MX, Brasileirão, Bundesliga, Serie A, Liga, Super League, Saudi Pro League, probably both of the top two divisions in England. Like it's below a lot of leagues, and yet they've been able to not only export players to big teams, right? Every single summer, there's at least two players who are leaving the Portuguese top flight and going to, one of the biggest teams in Europe. So you just have to you kind of have to give them a lot of credit for that. And the other thing is, Portuguese teams they've been fairly competitive in Europe. Obviously, it's been a while since we've seen a Portuguese team win anything in Europe, but Sporting getting to the quarterfinal against Arsenal, Porto going pretty far, Braga, of course, they're trying to win the Europa League. So, like, I think that speaks very highly of these teams and how they've fared. I feel like Porto, there was maybe a little too much focus on domestic competition and just trying to win their first league title in 4 years. I think that's why they underperformed a little bit in Europe. But yeah, with regards to the overall health of Liga Portugal, obviously, I wish there were a lot of things that were different, right? For example, I wish that Liga Portugal actually had a place where you could watch it on TV. It's been like it's so hard for me to watch Portuguese teams because like you have to pay for some crazy like streaming service, whereas that's not the case with these other leagues. Right? You can even like throw on Fox Soccer and watch a Saudi Pro League. So that's definitely the biggest thing. I think just trying to get international recognition, international respect, as long as there's no like major broadcaster showing Portuguese football, like it's going to continue to lag behind the others. As long as the big three continue to take up a huge percentage of that TV revenue, as long as all these things happen, I think that they're going to continue to struggle. But yeah, it's just ridiculous that like I genuinely don't know. Apart from, I mean, obviously, like I said, you can, if it is your wish, you can do something like Fanatiz or Fubo and watch it. But overall, I really wish there was some like major service like Paramount or Apple Plus that would actually take it on and show these games to viewers because I think it does have a lot of potential.
Where's your sense of where Portuguese talent comes from? Like, is it coming from cities? Is it coming from rural areas? Is it coming from the former colonies? Like, where do they get players from? Sorry, I'm trying to ask longer
Okay,
questions.
I gotta get my protein in. I've worked out like
No, no,
three
no.
times
I hear
today.
it. I hear it. I hear it.
Um, with regards to where where the talent is coming from, I feel like overall Portuguese football is doing a better job of incorporating talents from faraway places like obviously Lisbon and Porto, they account for um, the good majority of teams that are playing in Portugal's two their top two divisions, right? But I do think that you're still finding players coming from these lesser known regions like Alentejo, Azores, Madeira, because, like I said, the one kind of dichotomy change over the past few years, like I mentioned, Portuguese teams they're no longer able to use third party ownership, uh, and I think as a result, that's forced them to kind of to get really focused in cultivating their youth development strategy. So I think Sporting was the first team that kind of established their academy, but I would say that Benfica is the first. Benfica would be the first team that kind of made a world class academy, um, and I feel like, yeah, ever since that the Seychelles Academy launched in 2006, I feel like Porto and Sporting and even like teams like Braga and Vitoria have managed to really sharpen up their game and put in really good work with their youth. Um, I think that we're seeing them, and a lot of these big three teams, what they'll do is they'll have um, like a campus in like pretty much every single province of Portugal or region, right? So that's why you'll have some players like Ricardo Neto who come from the Lisbon region and have been in Lisbon all their life, but you also have players who are coming from the islands like Henrique Araujo, and they're used to a different style of life. They talk differently, but overall, because teams like Benfica, Porto, and Sporting are kind of getting them inculcated into their strategy, living all these miles away, they're able to have a smoother transition when like around 14 or 15 years of age, when the best talents get moved to the club's headquarters, right? Be that in Lisbon or Porto or whatever. Um, Another thing I would say as well, I just feel like a lot of lower tier sides are doing a much better job of recruitment. Teams like, Famalicão, for example, they've done an incredible job of, scouting in these lesser known places like Morocco or Uruguay, and like selling players like Manuel Ugarte or Pedro Gonçalves or this Moroccan kid Zabiri. So like they are they are sort of like learning, if we put in the extra work in terms of our scouting, like, okay, maybe we can't compete with Benfica, Porto, and Sporting in terms of, making a world class academy and developing our own players, but we'll be able to, provide a lifeline to those talented players from those academies who aren't quite good enough to make the jump to the first team, and we're also going to be bringing in a lot of talented raw players who are going to adjust to life in Europe, who are going to then make us some money. And the other part of that is that I think that we're sort of seeing the middlemen cut out, because back in the day you'd have a Famalicão, a Santa Clara, and a Arauca who would sign a very promising player from a lesser heralded league, and then sell them to Sporting Porto or Benfica, and they would then make the real big bucks. Now that's slowly changing. So I think that's definitely a positive sign for Portuguese football. The fact that these teams from outside Portugal are kind of waking up and realizing, hang on, we can just sign these players before they go to a big three team, and not have to sign that premium, right? Saw that with West Ham with Pablo earlier, bringing him from Gil Vicente, and yeah, obviously Pablo, he's still a work in progress, but he's I think he's definitely one for the future, and he's gonna make West Ham fans happy for sure.
So let's flip it back to the national team. So, what is your reading of Roberto Martinez? Obviously, he had a golden generation with Belgium that didn't quite work out the way people thought it might. What style of football is he bringing to Portugal? And what do you expect to see from him specifically at the World Cup?
So, with regards to Roberto Martinez, I definitely think that it's been fairly positive. You can't really, I mean, you just don't have enough time. Uh, you don't have enough body of work to judge him, right? Obviously, he's only had the European Championship. Obviously, the Nations League win was a confidence booster, but I think overall we've seen some fairly promising performances from his team, and yeah, I actually got the chance to speak with him in New York last summer during the Club World Cup, and talk to him about few topics. Um, and I did kind of get the sense that he's starting to know his best team and kind of learning that in order for Portugal to be at their best, they need to be full throttle. They can't be defensive. They can't be sitting back. I remember uh, being in the Estadio da Luz back in like November 2021, and Portugal, they needed to draw against Serbia, and they score within 5 minutes via Renato Sanchez, and then they just go in completely defensive mode, allow Serbia back into the game. Serbia scores 2 goals and end up directly qualifying, whereas Portugal had to go through the knockout round playoffs. So really, Portugal, they need to play with the brakes off. They need to commit it all, and they can't afford to be overly defensive. That's what I will say. But I do feel like we're sort of seeing the spine emerge. I think, midfield for me, that's where Portugal's strong suit is. Um, but with that being said, I don't think the defense or attack is necessarily terrible. But yeah, I think that overall Portugal have quality at every single level.
We could go name for name, position group by position group, but I feel like that might take way too long. So I'm just gonna pick three names that interest me and I think might interest a bunch of people. So you mentioned it before, last dance for Cristiano. Maybe people didn't think 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that he'd be hanging on and playing again another World Cup, but maybe those who had a more keen eye would know that he's not going to give up until like his legs stop working. So, what's your read on Cristiano Ronaldo? Why is he still here? And is this the end? Like, I feel like he might be back.
Listen, I mean, I've been saying for quite a while that it's the end for Ronaldo. And to be fair, I mean, he's scored goals, but he just hasn't showed up when the lights are brightest. Um, I think this has to be the final tournament for him. And and look, I mean, I genuinely hope that he proves me wrong. He's one of the greatest footballers of all time. He's one of the greatest athletes of all time. And the one thing that's missing on his resume is a World Cup. So I would really love to see him prove the doubters wrong. I just don't see it happening, right? I feel like um, playing in an inferior league like the Saudi Pro League, that's got to take a toll on his level. But also the main thing that's taking a toll is just father time. He's just no longer the player that he was before. He still has some attacking instincts, but when you take out the physical fortitude, when you take out those 1v1 skills on the dribble, I think you see a player who just quite frankly isn't fit to be a starter. I don't think that he should be starting in the World Cup, but I have a feeling that he will because unfortunately selling tickets and selling jerseys is more important for the Portuguese Football Federation than actually winning a World Cup.
Damn. What's the role of Bruno Fernandez in this team, and what should it be? If you hear the difference in those questions.
So I think that Bruno will be the number 10 in this team. Um, this is where, Martinez will have certain uh, difficulties because obviously, he wants to try to find a way to squeeze in two undersized attacking midfielders in Bruno and Bernardo. But I do think that the team has to be based around Bruno. He's arguably the best player in the Premier League right now. He's a world class creator, and yeah, I think he obviously has to be in the team. So for me, I think you have to put Vitinha and Neves together in the double pivot. Have Bruno at the 10. Have you know Bernardo kind of being a false uh, winger, but more acting more as a midfielder. I feel like if Bernardo's in the team, it's to kind of offer some, to offer some work rate. I think that's what he's really become known for the past few months, and just that overall balance. And then yeah, you'd have someone else on the left, probably Leao or Trincao, and then yeah, Ronaldo up top. So I feel like for me, um, yeah, I mean, I just think we need to get rid of this antiquated notion that teams can't be successful if they play a bunch of 5'6", 5'8" guys in midfield. Like that's no longer the case. We've seen that already with Spain back in their glory days, and I feel like Portugal, yeah, maybe they will be a little undersized, but I would take the risk. I think you need to find a way to put in all of your best players, and also try to find how to create a balance. And I think the best way to do that is just to play on the front foot and to make sure that Bruno is pulling the strings.
I'm going to connect these next two questions, and I'm sure you'll understand why I do. The other player that I had was Leao. And the next question after that is Portugal's floor and Portugal's ceiling. If we get good Leao at this tournament, what is Portugal's floor and ceiling? And if we get bad or just meh Leao, what are Portugal's floor and ceiling?
So I don't feel like. I mean, I think that Leao is one of those players who's right. He's obviously a maverick, very mercurial, and yeah, as you mentioned, you don't really know what version you're going to get from Leao. But with that being said, I mean, like obviously a fit and firing Rafael Leao is Portugal's best winger. I think that goes without saying. Um, but I also feel like players like Pedro Neto, Francisco Trincao, they're going to be ready to step up if needed and deliver. So Leao's got to be on his top game, right? He's not one of those players, like Vitinha, like Bruno, who's guaranteed to start. He just isn't. He hasn't been good enough for Milan, and yeah, I think that he acknowledges that. So yeah, this is a massive tournament for Leao. It does feel like ever since the start of the decade when he was really lighting things up for Milan and just being such a fun player to watch, he's gone down a level. You can still see the magic in his feet. You can still see that intensity, that unpredictability that he brings, but I just feel like he really needs to step up. And if he does step up, it's going to be massive for Portugal. It's going to allow them to compete and really just adds another dimension to their play. A little more verticality, a little more speed. But like I said, if Leao isn't going to be showing up, whether that's in actual games or in training, I'm confident that Portugal will have plenty of players who are going to be able to step up in his void.
So you don't think he affects the floor or the ceiling too greatly? Like if he's good, that's okay, but if he's
Yeah,
not that good, then there are
I
other
would say
options.
that he impacts the ceiling more than the floor. I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What are your expectations in terms of where do they end up? Are we looking at a quarterfinalist, semifinalist, finalists, or could it be terrible?
Yeah. So I actually think a likely scenario is um, Portugal facing off against Argentina in Kansas City in the quarterfinal. I think if they both top their groups, that will happen, assuming they win those other matches. So,
I wonder how that came to be, just randomly,
yeah,
know.
but uh, but yeah, I think my expectation for Portugal is at least the quarterfinals. Right? They just got to the quarterfinals, so obviously, if they don't get to the quarterfinals, you'd have to have a massive rebuild. I think you'd have to sack Martinez. I think that's got to be the bare minimum. But I think the optimists will be thinking this is a Portuguese team that's good enough to get to their first ever World Cup final. Because, like I said, it does feel like they've got the players, they've got so much quality in every single position. I don't know if they have a better team than those other BMOFs, but they've got an incredible team, and I think that they should be expected to go far.
Are Portugal the best nation that hasn't won a World Cup, Zach? Or do they fight with the Netherlands for that honor or distinction, if it is?
So I would say, in terms of history, in terms of footballing heritage, I think the Netherlands are the best team. But with regards to current quality, for me, there's no question. Portugal have a much better team than the Netherlands. Like, I think there's maybe like three or four players, if that, that would get into the Portuguese team. Honestly, I don't think that, like, the Netherlands, they're a fine team. I know they did better than Portugal in the last European Championship, but yeah, for me, Portugal undoubtedly have a better team than the Netherlands.
Who's your pick to win the World Cup? Or picks? I'm trying to be less
Yeah,
strict
I
on that
haven't
one.
I haven't made my predictions yet. I'm gonna have to do that soon. But yeah, I'm hoping I'm accredited for the World Cup, so I'm looking forward to covering it and being there at MetLife for the big game in about 2 months from now. With regards to who could win it, you can't write off Argentina. Obviously, you know, defending champions have not fared that well in recent tournaments, but I think that you've got to give them a chance. France, of course, they've got just so much quality. For me, that attack is just incredible. But I think if I had to go with picks, I think it would be either Spain or England. I feel like those are the two strongest teams, and yeah, I think I would go with one of those two teams. As much as I would love to see a new champion this year, I just don't think we're gonna get one.
Last question, Zach. Is there anything I haven't asked about Portugal, Portuguese football culture, the national team that you find particularly fun or interesting that you think people should know or might want to know?
I would just say give it a chance. Whether that's flying out to Portugal or watching this game on your TV. Like, give Portuguese teams a chance. Don't like look down on them just because they don't have a lot of money. They've been able to punch above their weight and really bridge that gap. And I think you're gonna struggle to find a league that does more with less than Portugal. It isn't perfect. It's nowhere near the top five leagues, but I think that you're going to get you're going to get a lot of joy. I mean, it's been a decade or so since I started following it, and I haven't regretted it one bit. So there's so many amazing stories and so many amazing emotions and roller coasters that you're missing out on if you don't follow this league.
Shout out the website and where can people follow you?
So you can find me on Zach Lowy on Twitter, as well as, of course, take a look at breakinglines.com. We're building something special there, and we're peaking ahead of the World Cup. We've got some big moves coming up, so definitely follow us on Twitter on BTLVid, and sorry, break the lines. We have a new Twitter ad. Break the lines. And breakingthelines.com. You can check us out there. We're gonna be ramping up our World Cup coverage, and yeah, I'm super proud to be a part of that.
The links will be in the description. Zach, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
So my name is Louis, my name or Louis, but you can call me both. And I'm from France and Congo, half French, half Congolese. I live in Paris, and my outlet is Leopard's Foot, which is the biggest and the pioneer football media on Congolese football. So I'm basically the editor in chief. I joined the project when I was 13 years old. So I kind of, help like it, you know, the project growing up and everything. And now we are a team of like 10 people. When I joined, we were just two. And so yeah, today we have like more than 2 million followers, all social media combined. So yeah.
Sounds dope. Sounds dope. So, how's this World Cup being anticipated by Congolese fans? And I'll tag on Congolese media.
That's bittersweet because of course people are excited about the World Cup and they're very proud to finally see after 52 years the Congolese flag at the World Cup again. However, ever since the coach dropped the list the roster for this for the team, they are so disappointed. Most of most people are disappointed because there's a debate, but at the same time they wanted to see, new faces, new players, because a lot of like dual national players are of Congolese descent, as you might know, and they were expected to see at least one or two change. But yeah, our coach is a pragmatic, so he decided to, rely on the squad that qualified for the World Cup, and there are no surprises, no new players. So yeah, now, so to answer your question, for like ever since the list is out, so I think yeah, they released it 2 days ago. So for 2 days, it's been a bit hectic. But before that, Congolese people are very, very happy, proud to go to the World Cup.
So I've been asking people to maybe play doctor and put on the stethoscope and the outfit or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and diagnose for me the condition of your nation's football. So would you say overall, and I mean this domestically, and the ability to export players, would you say Congolese football is in a healthy moment or in a not so healthy moment?
That's paradoxical because we qualified for the World Cup, but no, very not healthy at all, unfortunately, and it's not because we lack talent. There is a lot of untapped potential in Congo, which this is the problem. This is the biggest country in sub-Saharan Africa, more than 100 million people, 70% or even more than that, uh, under 25 years old, and people are passionate about with football. So it's not a question of talent, and people are extremely, extremely talented in Congo. It's not a question of talent, it's a question of like, organization, structure, infrastructure, proper training, um, detection all around the country, all of the things that have not been done over the past decade and even before that. So that it's very complicated today for a Congolese player in Congo, even if this kid, like for a Congolese kid, like wherever in Congo, um, very gifted, very disciplined, everything. He's got everything, but it's gonna be very difficult for him to break through because of those structural hindrances in a way. So I would say it's unhealthy, but the good thing is now the national team has, results, but the national team relies a lot on the diaspora, which Congolese diaspora is huge. And out of the roster for the World Cup, only I think only 5 players, if I'm not mistaken, started to play in Congo and were trained in Congo. So it says a lot. So at the same time, we can rely on the diaspora, but it has to be, it can't be a long-term solution. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
No, no, no. And a question I've been learning to ask is, where does Congolese talent come from? So you mentioned the diaspora. Is it coming from rural areas? Is it coming from the city? Like where do players come from, and how are they made?
So the thing is, Congolese people are everywhere. Like the diaspora is everywhere. You can find Congolese people in the US, in Canada, where you grew up. Of course, in France, sorry, given like the language, but also of course in Belgium, given the colonial history. So most of the Congolese players now and the Congolese diaspora are in either Belgium or France, and a few of them in the UK. Also, there's a growing community in the UK.
All right. So let's talk about
But
qualification. Oh, no,
sorry, just to
finish.
answer your
No, finish.
question,
Finish.
yeah, mostly in cities, mostly like in big cities like London, in the Paris area, the Brussels area. Yeah, it's not complicated to hear Lingala.
So let's get into qualification. How did DRC qualify, and what's been their form since?
Man, that's been a hell of a journey. So Congo started playing like in the same group that, Senegal. We had like Senegal, South Sudan, and Togo. Yeah. So basically we finished second, just behind Senegal, and we thought we were gonna, defeat Senegal at home. We were leading by 2-0, and they managed to score three goals. It was in Kinshasa. It was a disaster. It was a catastrophe because it reminded like it brought back like bad memories because 4 years prior, Congo almost made it to the World Cup. They lost in Morocco. 4 years before that, they also almost made it to the World Cup before letting Tunisia come back from a two goals advantage. So it was complicated, and after that, people didn't want to believe anymore that Congo was going to qualify, even though we were going to play the intercontinental playoffs. But eventually, the players found their resources, like the mental resources, to make it through the playoffs, to beat Cameroon, a team that we haven't beaten for prior to that before for I think 27 years. So yeah, that was crazy. Cameroon was always beating us, and it's kind of a Central African rivalry, and we eventually managed to win. Then Nigeria, and then Jamaica. So yeah, it's a well deserved qualification.
I realized when I asked the question that you guys had to go through so many steps, which means
Yes.
what friendlies have you been able to play, or do you have scheduled?
Like before the World Cup?
Yes.
Yes. So on the 3rd of June, Congo is going to play Denmark in Belgium. So they chose they know they knew why they chose Belgium because the diaspora is going to be crazy about it. And also Chile or Chile. How do you pronounce it? Chile.
Chile.
Chile. Sorry, Chile. Yeah, Chile in Spain on the 9th of June. Yeah,
Okay. So let's talk about the coach. Who's the coach,
sure.
and what should we expect from him?
So the coach is a French. It's a French coach, Sébastien de Sabre. So he's been there for I think since 2022. He's very he knows African football because he used to also coach Uganda, you know. He used to coach Uganda, he used to coach like Pyramids FC in Egypt, and he's got a lot of experience across the continent. But he's a very disciplined and pragmatic coach. So he brought this kind of like discipline that I think the squad needed, and the overall federation, and he's beyond like a coach. Like he took charge of like the whole, you know a lot of things that are not even on the field, for the team to be structured and disciplined. So I think that's what the team needed. So yeah, I wouldn't say he's the best coach in terms of like tactics and stuff, even though he's not that bad, but it's more of like the discipline he brought that took the team to another level.
If the Congolese team is playing in the way that the Congolese people want to see it, what does that look like? Is it attacking? Is it defensive? Like what is the ideal form of Congolese football?
Very attacking, explosive, very explosive. Because if you watch like kids and even like the Congolese league, you have like very explosive players. They like to, with a lot of spectacle, with a lot of like. Do you remember Yannick Bolasie, for
Yes.
instance? He's like the the epitome like of a Congolese player, of what Congolese would like to see. Very creative at the same time. You remember when he used to touch the floor and to and this is the type of players Congolese want to see.
So let's talk about the squad.
Sure.
Which top players do you think are in a good moment? And I'll add which players do people maybe not know about that you think on this stage of the World Cup they're gonna play well, they're gonna perform well.
That's a good question. I think for the first, so a player that is currently playing well and that
Yeah.
we can expect things, I would say Ngalayel Mukau from Lille. Yeah, very interesting player. Very interesting player. He grew up in Belgium, but he chose to play for Congo very early, before he reached 20. And he now plays in Lille, which is a very, very good club in terms of like um, training young players and also, help them to like harness their potential before they sell them to a bigger club. Eden Hazard, for instance, Gervinho, a lot of players like that went through the Lille. And I would say Gael Mukau because he's been really improving this season. He earned like a regular, starting spot in Lille, and I think we could expect good things from him. Yeah, and
Um,
also,
yeah.
sorry, you said the second player maybe that people don't expect the super sub, as we say, Brian Tipenga. Brian Tipenga, he plays in Spain's second division. Even a year ago, Congolese people didn't even know about the guy, but I don't think we would have gone through the playoffs without him. Yeah.
So is Kakuta on the list? I just
Yeah, he is. He is. That's smart, right? That's smart. That's smart. If you have like old Chelsea fans, they will remember Galcat.
that's
You are.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Gal Kakuta. Yeah, he's a raw talent. He's a really raw talent that didn't manage, unfortunately, to have like a stable career. I think he played for 16 clubs in his career. He never managed to find this stability, but he's got this kind of like genius in him. Like these very creative things that are like in it that you don't learn on a pass, on a dribble, on a yeah, he doesn't have his like he's not young anymore. He's not getting any younger, and he's for a lot of Congolese people, I'm not gonna lie, it was a surprise that he's actually on the list, because he hasn't been called up since the World Cup and since the AFCON, sorry. And last time he played at the AFCON, he was against Algeria. He didn't have a good impact. So yeah. But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna
I,
be
I
interesting.
I only asked because of my old Chelsea days and
I
thinking,
understand.
oh, he could have been, he could have been. Which position group do you think is in a good moment? Goalkeepers, defenders, midfield, attack. What's Congo's best group at the moment?
If you look in terms of like the form of the players, I would say the midfield, because we have Mukau that I told you about. We have Noah Sadiki, who had a very impressive season in Premier League with Sunderland, and we also have our a very important player in the midfield, Samuel Mutusami. You guys might not be familiar with him. He's not the most gifted player technically like in the squad, but he's a soldier. He harasses, uh, uh, he gets the ball. He's got like four lungs. He's never tired. He runs like all over the field, and he's inspiring. He's really inspiring in his mindset, in the way he plays. So I would say that those three players, if they are, the coach decides to play them together, they're on a good, they played a lot this season, so it's going to be interesting to see.
I like that you said inspiring because one of the questions on my list was, "What's up with this Patrice Lumumba look-alike?" and what does it mean to have someone in the stands that represents Lumumba in some way?
Very inspiring, of course, but also, because Lumumba embodies a lot of things, the real, like the actual Patrice Lumumba, of course. Um, he's a Pan-African figure, even for the global South in general. I think Lumumba is a key figure. And the fact that this guy, who used to be a baker, by the way, but looks like Lumumba, but he also embodies, I think, a lot of like things that, Congolese people are going through, because the passions, the resilience, because try to even stand that way for 5 minutes. Like, just try, but let alone like for a whole game. And the guy, like, I've seen him in the stadium. He's a proper statue. Like, he doesn't move an inch. And the patience that he requires, and the fact that he's, see how like dapper he looks. Like, he's his haircut, his clothes, he looks very clean, very neat. And this is something that you see also with Congolese people. If you go to Congo, some people, they may suffer, they may suffer, uh they might, go through things and stuff, but they're always gonna look clean, look, neat and proper. And he also embodies that. And of course, the fact that he represents Lumumba. And I think in terms of also of soft power in a way, it's very interesting to have him, because he used to, like, in the at the AFCON. I don't know if you were in Morocco during the AFCON, but
Oh
he
no,
was
no,
the
no. I
yo
wasn't there, but I was watching.
yeah, he was the star. He was the star, like, of the AFCON. Like, everyone wanted it was complicated for him to walk in the street. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, I think he embodies a lot of things that Congolese people like. So yeah, I'm very happy for him.
I think I read the other day that like he was gonna struggle to get a visa, and then
Yes,
they
he
they've
was denied.
included him. They included him in the team structure
Yeah,
to get him a visa or something. Yeah.
yeah, because he was denied a visa to go to Mexico for the playoffs game against Jamaica. He was denied. But now, like they made like everything. They tried everything for him to get a visa to the US, and I think that's gonna work. But to be honest with you, I think he deserves it because he represents and embodies more than his own person now, you know? There's a lot of things behind him.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, but let's get back to the football. So floor, ceiling. How good could this be for Congo, or how bad could this be for Congo?
Okay, let's start with like how good. Realistically, I think Congo can get through this group stage. Maybe on a third, maybe at the third position, you know, but we can get through. I think we can get through this team also has a lot of players who are used to play um, Champions League football, Premier League, Ligue 1, Liga, and stuff. So they're used to like high level games and high pressure games. But also, I'm not gonna lie to you. Of course, we're not the favorites. I wouldn't rule us out at all, but we are not the favorites against Portugal. A lot of people are scared at the same time of the this game against Portugal. Against Colombia, also, it's gonna be very difficult. But the must-win game is Uzbekistan. Even though Uzbekistan, you don't want to underestimate those guys, but uh, it's this is the game we must win. But yeah, I think we can get through this group stage.
All right. Who do you think wins the World Cup, Louis?
Wins the World Cup.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, French is gonna be very difficult to play. But at the same time, Portugal, like if you look at Portugal's midfield, I think they have the best generation since like the 2006 generation with like Luis Figo and Pauleta and all of those guys. Cristiano Ronaldo is still there for his sixth World Cup, so Portugal also is can be like an underdog in a way. Argentina, of course. Spain, given the fact that they won the Euros, so it's very open. But I would say if I give you three teams, yeah, France, Portugal as an underdog, and yeah, I don't see Argentina, win the second time in a row, but
Okay.
um, the third team, Spain, yeah,
All right.
okay,
And
Spain.
which team from Africa, which of the nine do you think are best positioned to go furthest? Could be Congo, could be DR Congo.
I hope so. I hope so. But let's be like realistic. I think individually, I think Senegal is the best African team, to be honest with you. Even before Morocco, Senegal is the best team. However, it's going to also be really interesting to see what Morocco has to offer. But I think Senegal can do something. Yeah.
All right. And last
And if it's
question.
Congo, of course, I'm going to be the happiest person. So yeah.
I say Congo because in each round where they were playing Cameroon, Nigeria, you would think like
Yeah.
Cameroon will win or Nigeria will win, but there's something about this Congolese team that is very hard to beat them. So
They know
I,
what they fight for,
mm,
They feel like players feel like they're ambassadors and what with everything that's going on in the country, geopolitically and everything. They know that they carry a lot, and at the same time, they are talented players. You have a lot of talented players in this team. Gael Mukau, Noah Sadiki, those are like young players who, have a lot to show. So yeah.
do you know what? I was going to ask the last question, but I thought of one. Is there any diaspora player, and you might have mentioned this, that was kind of on the fence? Will they go to France? Will they go to Belgium? Will they join England? But
Hmm.
because DR Congo made the World Cup, they've been convinced in this
Yes.
period.
Yes, a lot of I would say Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for instance, the former Manchester United right back. The thing is with like Wan-Bissaka, he started to play for Congo actually 10 years ago in under 18, I think, under 18 or under 20. And he played just a game and he was against England, but the organization was shambles. And they lost 8-0. 8-0. So I think after this, there was no like follow up in terms of like structure and stuff. So yeah, he eventually signed with like Crystal Palace. He had this his breakthrough season, and then England called him in the under 20s, and after this he wanted to play for England. He refused Congo for a long time, over a long period of time. He rejected like Congo and stuff, but eventually, when I think he felt that, he was not going to play for England, and at the same time that Congo was improving, was going on the verge to, to play the World Cup, and also that behind that the structure was more and more professional, he decided to join. So a few Congolese people sometimes they don't like this type of stuff. They were bittersweet with this, but once he, gives everything on the field, and when they saw that he brought something to the team, they forget they forgot about it. Kakuta as well, same thing. Back in the days, he wanted to play for France, but yeah, eventually he decided to accept the call up.
All right. So last question: is there anything I haven't asked about Congo, the Congolese national team, Congolese football culture that you find fun or interesting that you think people should know or might want to know?
Hmm. You know, it's about the talent of like the actual talent of Congolese people when it comes to football. In the 2022 World Cup, 11 players of Congolese descent were at the World Cup. Congo wasn't there, but a whole team of people who could have played for Congo were there. So, and they were playing for either Belgium, France, even Sweden, England. So, Congolese people are very, very gifted when it comes to football. The only thing that Congo lacks is like structure and infrastructure, proper training and everything. So yeah, I would say like Congolese people are blessed with talent when it comes to football.
Cool, Louis. Where can people find you?
I mean, I live in Paris as I told you, but on my on my social media, of course, Instagram. I'm quite active on Instagram, and my also don't forget to follow if you want to have like news on Congolese football, Leopard's Foot. We are doing a lot of shows. We're gonna be there also, for the World Cup. So yeah,
Cool.
my media outlet.
All the links will be in the description. Louis, I thank you for taking the time, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.